Hi, I'm Randy Huffstetler, and I'm with the 2012 West Star Leadership Program. And today we're doing a leadership legacy story. And I have here with me one of my cohorts.
My name is Joey Mehlhorn. I'm also part of the 2012 West Star Leadership class. I'm from Martin, Tennessee, and I'm very excited about being here and our introduction and discussion with Dr. Dunagan today on leadership legacy.
Dr. Dunagan, good to have you.
It's good to be here with both of you.
Yeah. Of course, in Joey and I picking someone, you were one of the first ones that came to our mind in Weakley County. You've done so much for our community and of course, the university. And, you know, to be able to share with the whole world, actually, this is going to be archived. So this will be something good that future leaders can have something to come to maybe get your perspectives and how you've handled things. I guess, Dr. Dunagan, just kind of start off with telling us about yourself and some of your philosophy on leadership.
Okay, I'd be happy to. It's a pleasure to be here. I went to undergraduate school here at Martin, and I came back here to practice law. And I think one of the lessons right quick, I did that for a year, and I think any person ought to decide on their job, on their life's work, to do something that they enjoy.
Right. Sure.
I did not enjoy the practice of law for a year. So it just so happened that a position came available at the university in the fundraising area, and I applied for it and got it in the fundraising development area, and had a number of jobs during that. And I guess one of my philosophy on work and what you do, you go in, you work hard, you be honest, you hire good people, and it seems like that then kind of takes care of itself. And while I was in the education field, I think the same thing goes for the business or whatever it might be, but my philosophy was our primary customer, so to speak, and faculty don't like for us to say customers, but our primary customer was the student.
That's right.
And as in any business, if you take care of your customer, then you're going to thrive. And my philosophy always was, first question you ask, how's this going to impact students? And if you go in the way that it's most positively impacts students, then your organization is going to do well. And I think UT Martin did that.
Well, and you mentioned one thing too. You hire good people. So, and that's what we've learned in leadership is surround yourself with people, you know, that whom you're wanting to be like. And I think that's a good point. And kind of getting into that, you know, you've kind of involved yourself around this community. So, you know, can you kind of describe some changes and things that you've seen, you know, in Weakley County and in this community, kind of throughout?
Okay. I think the biggest change that I've seen since the time I came back to Martin, it was kind of, and Randy, you've lived in Weakley County, and you have a feeling of this. It was kind of, okay, there's Martin, there's Greenfield, there's Dresden, there's Sharon, and you know, we're all in the same county, but we're going to do our own thing.
Right.
Well, that just doesn't work in this day and age. I think there's so much more collaboration. Not only, I think we've done a good job in Weakley County, but now we're also looking at, okay, we need to join forces with Henry County, Carroll County, Obion County. So this whole aspect of collaboration, and I think to be a successful leader, you have to embrace that. If there happened to be a mayor or let's say a university chancellor that said, well, we're going to do our own thing at UT Martin, you all just go do yours, it won't work anymore.
That's right.
It's you know, you can get into global economy, and Joey knows about that, but we're all so interconnected that if we don't work together, then your organization sooner or later is going to have some serious problems. So the biggest change I've seen is the different viewpoint on why collaboration needs to take place, not let's just everybody do their own thing.
Right.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, we see a lot of that happening in West Tennessee. The communities are starting to band together, and I think that is a good thing. And I think we've certainly seen that in Weakley County, and we certainly have appreciated your leadership coming from the university to try to tie those together, because I've always viewed the university as not just a Martin thing. It's really a West Tennessee. It's a Weakley County thing, and hopefully our reach is very far. So that's such a true statement.
And I think the West Star Leadership Program has been a big factor in this, and that's why I'm so pleased that the university has embraced West Star the way it has, because it really broadens our horizon and makes more people from all over West Tennessee aware of UT Martin, but it also, UT Martin helps bring people from all over West Tennessee, because if you know something good that's happening in Brownsville or Covington, there are very few new or original ideas. You look and see what other people are doing that work and say, can this work in our place?
One question I'd like to have you answer, Dr. Dunagan, is can you tell us a little bit about your philosophy on mentorship, or maybe did you have a mentor, or what would you point to and tell people about the power of things like good mentors?
Well, when I think there are two aspects of that. On the most recent one in the university, I think back Dr. Joe Johnson, who was a former president of the university, but he was I remember really one of the first meetings I went to back in 1973. He happened to be chancellor at UT Memphis at that time, and I got in the elevator, and he said, "Oh, Dunagan," said, "welcome to UT." He said, he knew who I was, and I just thought, this is a guy. I didn't know he even spoke to peons like me, but he was, I think, to me, he was an ideal mentor. Charlie Breakbill in the fundraising area, and then someone that I really relied on was Margaret Perry. She was a wonderful mentor. So you've got those immediate ones, but then you think back. I had a great Boy Scout leader. I had a great church youth leader. I had some great coaches, and that all comes back to those are adults that took their time. And granted, a coach is paid, but you can coach and then you can mentor. But those three people were just extraordinary, and I think back what I learned from them, and I also had to put my dad in that category. I learned an awful lot from him growing up. So I think it's important to have mentors, and it's important for all of us to be mentors to the extent that we can, because if we accept it from others, then we need to be ready to give it back also.
That's exactly right.
I guess kind of finishing up there on community, Dr. Dunagan, what do you wish to accomplish, say, for the rest of your life here in our community?
Well, it's it's interesting. Your perspective changes once you retire. But I said all along, I still want to remain involved in community and still involved in economic development on the hospital board and things of this nature. And I think, as both of you know, I lost a son about 4 months ago. And I think when events like that happen, it kind of changes your perspective also. Even though family was always very important for me, and for Kathy, I might add, it really kind of becomes even more important. You look at, okay, what things can I do with my kids and with my grandkids, and it just kind of puts in perspective. It's not to say that doing things in the community is not important. It still is, and I want that to be a part of it. But I think it's kind of changed me to a certain extent to really focus on, don't leave any opportunities to do things with your family on the table, because you never know when that table is going to be moved.
Yes, sir. That's right.
Well, I know that's been one thing. When I came to UT Martin, Dr. Dunagan was gracious enough to hire me.
Hire good people. That's what you do.
People. I'm very thankful for that. But I know, being in the university and academic life, it seems like we have a lot of people that come and they transition and they leave. But I think you're a good testimony to all the folks here in the community of how you stayed. You are part of the community. You weren't just here for the university, and it wasn't just about that. You put your life here, your kids here, your family's here, and your roots are here. And I mean, to me, I want to commend you on that. That's because in today's world, it seems like there's not a lot of people that do that anymore.
Well,
they're always off and gone somewhere else, and we certainly in Weakley County appreciate that, in West Tennessee appreciate that.
Well, this is home, and quite frankly, when we after law school, we came back to Martin. because we loved it here. Kathy and I were both graduates. And so we said, this is a great place to raise our kids. And so we decided to come back, and really, you know, I wasn't going to leave. They might have run me off, but I wasn't going to leave.
We sure are glad you did.
Well, thank you.
Did. Well, one other question I would like to ask. We are taping this for future Westar leaderships, and you do have a strong history with Westar. You've been there from the beginning. And one thing I would like to say is, what would you tell the next generation of leaders? What should they look to do, and how do they get in a position where they could be a Nick Dunagan someday, be a person that really impacts their community and leads others?
Well, I think you have to be somewhat of a servant leader. I think it's something you have to want to do. You know, you could argue, well, you can serve some self-interest by being a leader, but I think that runs thin pretty quick. So I think you have to see that, and you have to understand it. You know, one of the things, and this is probably more true in education, but I think it's also true in banking or anything you're in. And trying to think who told me this. It may have been Margaret. If there are objectives you need to meet, educational objectives, be in a position so that if that job does become available, that you have the educational credentials, that you have the banking experience. You know, if you're in a bank or if you're in retail sales, try to do those things so that when something opens up, whoever's doing the hiring said, yeah, you know, that person, they're educationally qualified, they've had this experience. So yeah, I think you have to always be looking down the road, and you know, maybe nothing. I never really felt that in order for my life to be complete, I had to be the chancellor of the University of St. Martin. But if it came around where that was the thing that I need to do, I wanted to be educationally qualified. So I hope, and as we look at the political scene today, gosh, we've got to learn to get along. We've got to learn to accept the view, not accept, but at least understand where the other person's coming from, and look for ways to do what's the common good as opposed to what's good for this party or for that party. And it's a little bit disheartening. I think it always is during presidential election process to see that. So I think we need more leaders, and I think the local leaders are probably, well, I know they are a lot more attuned to that. Maybe it's because their constituents are closer to them. They have to see them in the grocery store.
That's right.
Every day. So be attuned to ways that you can make things work.
Dr. Dunagan, would you like to share do you have any interesting stories or things you'd like to share with our audience today?
Well, I'm trying to think of a story that might have a purpose or goal. And one thing that comes to my mind, this is when I was doing fundraising for the university. We had this gentleman in Florida. He was obviously elderly, and I'd only talked to him on the phone, and we're trying to get a scholarship fund. And he said, Nick, I want you to come down to Fort Lauderdale and pick up your check. I said, okay, we'll do that. We scheduled something, and I was he was retired, and he told me he lived just about two blocks from the beach, and I thought, oh boy, that sounds good. And so and he said, I want you to spend the night with me in the house. And I went, well, okay. But now I made the arrangements, and I wasn't going to get into Fort Lauderdale till like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And I called and I said, why don't I just stay at a motel and I'll see you the next morning? He said, no, I want you to come. So we flew to Atlanta, or I flew to Atlanta, and we were fogged in. So I called him about 11 o'clock in Atlanta and said, you know, I'm not going to get to your house until 1 or 2 in the morning. He said, I don't care. I want you to come spend the night with me. So anyway, I fly down there. I drive to his house, and I knock on the door, and nobody comes. And I said, okay, I'm going to give it one more knock, and then I'm going to go to the motel, and I'll call him in the morning. Well, he came to the door, and in his robe, and we went in and got the bed. He came in the bedroom, obviously very lonely, and so we talked about 3 o'clock in the morning. And he said, "Now we're going to go to the bank tomorrow morning. We'll get the money." I said, "Okay." And so about 6 o'clock, I heard sausage frying, and it kept cooking and cooking, and so I got up and I went in there. And by the time I got in there and I looked at the skillet, the sausage looked like hockey pucks. I mean, they were black. So he said, sit down at the table and have a bowl of cereal and we'll eat some sausage. So I sat down at the table, and when he put the sausage on the plate, it literally nearly bounced off the plate. And so I poured the milk into my cereal, and my first bite of cereal, well, the milk was sour. I mean, it was sour. And then I looked up, and there was a little trail of ants going from the sugar bowl all the way down the table down there. But being a good fundraiser, I ate all my cereal. I ignored the ants, and I chewed on the sausage for about 15 minutes. So I guess and we did go to the bank and we picked up a check, and some student has a scholarship now because of it. But the moral of that story is, I think, sometimes you just do what you have to do, and again, get back to what's in the best interest of the student. At that particular time, the best interest of the student was for me to eat that rock hard sausage, that sour milk, and ignore the ants. So as we go through life, we see those opportunities. But again, a wonderful man that had some UTM contacts, and so I got on the airplane and flew back with the check.
Oh, well, Nick, that's great. And Dr. Dunagan, there again, we appreciate you taking time out of your day to spend with us and also with others that are going to get to see this. And we really appreciate you and what you've done for us.
Thank you. And I salute the West Star class and Charlie Dill and folks. And when we envisioned what West Star might be 12, 13 years ago, I'm not sure we quite comprehended what it would mean to West Tennessee, and so it's so good to be with you this morning.
It's a great program. Thank you so much, Dr. Dunagan.